Hey, have you heard about Anchor? You probably haven't heard about Anchor yet, so let me tell you about it. Anchor is the easiest way to make a podcast. You probably hear other people talk about how they make podcasts. If they say it's easy, they're crazy. All of their methods are really hard and complicated, but Anchor, super simple. First off, it's free. They have creation tools that let you make the podcast right from your phone. You don't even need a computer. This is 2019. Who uses computers anymore? Anchor distributes your podcast on all the other platforms. No need to go do all that complicated searching and hosting and posting. Hosting and posting. They do it for you. You can also make money from your podcast. Well, that's what I'm doing right now, because you're listening to this ad. They've got everything you need to make a podcast in one spot. No need to search around all over the place. No need to go to 20 different sites. Just one. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Bet you thought I was going to sing right here, didn't you?
Are you looking for the hottest news out of the obstacle racing scene? Want to stay up to date on the freshest info, the latest podiums, and hear interviews with the who's who in OCR? Well, you've come to the wrong place. Well, some of that you'll find here. But we're not the media. This is not ORM, OCM, OCRM, ORCM. This is OCR Talk.
Hello, this is Jason Dupree.
And I'm Anna Landry.
And this is episode number 20, Big 20, of OCR Talk.
Big 2-0.
Thank you for listening in. We are super excited. So excited about episode 20 that we didn't do anything special to celebrate.
We ran. We both ran today before recording the episode. Go us.
We did. We exercised. Speaking of exercising, I felt, I'd say, kind of rough today. And so I went out for a run and was like, all right, I'll just run 2 miles down this road and then, turn around and come back. And so at least that. And I got down there and I said, if I feel ready to go back by 2, I'll go back. And I got down there and I said, all right, if you're going to let yourself go back, then you need to put some work in. And so I was like, all right, I'm going to attempt to do 2 miles in 16 minutes, which...
How'd that go?
Which is an 8-minute pace, which is, pretty decently fast for me. And for, 16 minutes is a good long time to run. And I went for it. And I was like, all right, I said I'm going to do this. I'm not going to give up. And I kept a good pace up and actually finished in 15:05. And I was quite surprised. But I still hate running fast. I just don't like how hard it is.
Yeah. I was thinking about that because I've signed up for a couple local 5Ks that I always sign up for here in the area. And it's like, man, I know, and I'm going to go and take off as fast as I can because it's a 5K and it's only 3 miles. Yeah. And I'm going to feel like I'm sprinting the whole time. And I'm like, I just want to grind it out for like 8 hours. Can I just do that?
Yep. That's why I like endurance events more. It really is.
Exactly.
Well, speaking of how your running's going, we both had a couple of races this weekend. So before we get into what this episode is all about, which is all news from all over the place in the OCR community right now, let's just talk about what we did this past weekend and how did your race go? You did a 50K.
Yeah. So in preparation for World's Toughest Mudder, I've at World's Toughest, I want to do 50 miles. So I figured just follow a 50-miler training plan. So it just so happened I needed 31 miles this past weekend. So
nice.
I signed up for Walker Higgins Children of the Cane 50K. And they had a 10-miler, 20-miler, 50K, 100K, and 100-miler option. I was one of the 50Kers. And it was hot. It was so hot.
What time of the day was the event and when did y'all start?
So it was Saturday morning. The 100-milers took off at 6 a.m. on Saturday morning, and the rest of us, the 50K, 10, and 20-milers all took off at 8 a.m. And the 100K and 100-milers took off at 6 a.m. Because of the rain, all the rains and everything the past couple of weeks, he had to kind of redesign the course. The course was all flat. And going into it, I completely underestimated it because with it being flat, I was like, oh, flat trails, it shouldn't be too bad. Well, it's also cane field, so there's absolutely no shade. But he did have plenty of water stops. So True Blue Water provided a whole bunch of water for the event so that we pretty much had water about like every 3 or 4 miles. So that wasn't bad at all. They had 2 sections. So the first section was a 10-mile out and back. So it was 5 miles out and back. The next section was another out and back, in total it was like 21 miles. Yet another reason why going into the race, I was like, oh, it won't be too bad. I'll probably be done in 5-6 hours, something like that. Well, again, I didn't take into account the heat, and I did bring plenty of hydration with me, luckily. And I think I went into it not as hydrated as I should have been. I wasn't dehydrated going into it, but I probably should have hydrated a little bit more. And so, yeah, there was things that I definitely learned that I could do going into World's Toughest as far as my nutrition and hydration goes. And the aid station, one of the things I love about Walker's races is he always takes care of his runners. Like, he always takes care of his racers. Like, there was an aid station about mile 16. They had everything you could need. Like, they had a big tub of Tailwind or water or potatoes and sea salt that you could dip in, or M&Ms, like all the goodies that they were just providing for all the runners.
I feel like that's more typical for road races and trail races as well, whereas in obstacle races, I guess they're spending so much money on obstacles they don't
right.
have money left over for M&Ms.
Right. For M&Ms or bowl of potatoes. None of that. There will be none of that provided by Tough Mudder. So yeah, it was kind of cool to like test out what foods I did okay with and what I didn't really like. And overall, it took me about 7.5 hours. So way over what I was expecting. And it was funny because it was my first official ultra. Like, I've done ultra distances before for OCR,
right.
But it's like my first official just straight trail racing ultra. I'm on a couple Louisiana ultra runners pages on Facebook and everything, and I caught up with some of them during the race because they were wearing their hats and everything, and they were like, yeah, you probably should have asked for advice as far as what the first ultra should have been. what your first ultra should have been, because I probably wouldn't have picked this one for you. But I know that, if I could do one of Walker's races and finish in a decent amount of time, like that's a pretty good tell as far as, how I'm going to feel going into World's Toughest Mudder. Because he's got some pretty tough courses, and he always puts together really tough races. And definitely challenges even like the best runners out there. So I figured, why not? So it was really good. And I met like a whole bunch of really cool people. And yeah, just the positivity of the volunteers and just, translated into the runners. And it was just a really great experience. I have nothing bad to say about it. Nothing negative other than the heat got to me and I started seeing things. So it's probably a good thing that I only did the 50K, because I think the last 3 miles I wasn't even sweating at all. So I'm like, oh, that's not good. Yeah. That's not good. But it did rain a little bit, so there was a little bit of respite from the heat.
Well, you said there was a 10-mile out and back and a 20-mile out and back. So which parts did you do to make up the 50K?
So we did both. We started with the 10-mile out and back, and then...
Oh, it was 5 miles out and 5 miles back?
Right. And then, and then the 20-mile route was like 10 miles out, 10 miles back. So the 50K runners had to do both sections. And then, obviously the 10 and 20 milers only had to do the one section. And then the 100K people had to do both sections twice. And then... the 100 milers had to do both sections like 3 or 4 times. And then there was like a special little 7-mile route that's only part of the 100-mile route, and they end up going into this smokestack and like signing this book that's inside this smokestack. It's pretty cool. I don't
nice.
know. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Like the 50K route, there was some signage that took us to the smokestack, so I'm like, I just want to go see what it's all about. Like, I just want to go see it, and it's pretty cool. Like, he has the flags leading into the smokestack, and he has 2 books in there that you can sign if you're participating, and just to like write something about your journey. It's pretty cool.
Cool. One day, right?
Yeah, one day. Maybe not within the next couple years, but one day. Gotta have goals.
Yeah. I ran the Rugged and Raw trail race out in Cedar Ridge in south of Dallas. And I actually got interviewed by Mike Stefano on the Obstacle Running Adventures podcast, and he talked to me about it. And we actually ended up talking more about WTM than we did about Rugged and Raw.
Race.
It was a good race, though. This is the second time I've done it. It's the hardest, probably the hardest trail in the DFW area. Over the course of 20K, you're doing basically the entire trail twice and with a little extra. And it's about 2,000 feet of elevation.
Wow. You can't find that in Dallas anywhere.
Yeah. And unfortunately for me, I ended up kind of having those same old nagging issues coming back. And I guess I just got dehydrated and really, really struggled through the end of it. Yeah. The last time I ran it was in 2016. And that was probably my best, like the best I've ever felt running ever. And I finished in 2 hours and like 3 minutes. And this time I finished in about 2:50. So it was definitely a lot rougher. So I've got some things to look into before, these coming up next couple of events. But I'm still hopeful that, I know that if I do keep on top of my hydration and my nutrition, then hopefully I'll be all right. So we'll see.
That's the tricky thing about it, is because the race that we're training for, it's going to be like 5-mile loops. So, like every 5 miles, you're going to have somewhere to stop, and you'll have that pit area. But like with these ultra races, it's so tricky because like I didn't know what to bring with me. Like 10 mile, like 5 miles out and back. Like, I mean, yeah, there's plenty of water stops along the way and everything. And, at the finish line, they were, making all kinds of things for the runners and everything like that. But like, as far as what to bring out on the course with me, like, I hate running with my hydration pack. I hate it. Because the least stuff that I can run with, the better. Because like, I felt like I was carrying a rucksack with my hydration pack because I didn't want to bring too much, but I didn't want to bring not enough, because I'd rather take too much. And, yeah. So I had, my hydration bladder, and then I also had like a couple flasks up front on my hydration vest, and like I went through all of it. So thank God I brought it. But I mean, yeah, so that's the tricky thing about it, is that we're training for like 5-mile loops. But the good thing is that we're training to see like how far we can push our nutrition and hydration to prepare for things like that.
Yeah, and as far as taking all that stuff with you, you can probably ask Trevor Psychos, and he will tell you, I bet, that it's okay to have to carry that much stuff, because when you're on that long of a trek like he did from the 200 across Scotland.
Yeah.
I mean, when you're running with they have aid stations along the way, but yeah, you're doing those really long distance races. Right. The pit stations are basically further and further apart the longer you go, I think.
Well, yeah, and see, my problem with the aid stations was that I know from my experience that if I stop for too long, if I'm at that aid station for too long and I sit down and I get relaxed and everything, my legs are going to get cold, and I'm just not going to want to get back up and get started again. So, like, I know as long as I keep moving, it'll be okay. And the first part of the race, I ran with this guy. Caught up to me. He's from Colorado Springs, but he moved to Bay St. Louis. His name is John, and he's like a I guess he's an ambassador with Drip Drops Hydration. And like all he had was 2 bottles with him. And he's sitting here with like my hydration pack and my bottles. And I'm like, I'm such a rookie.
Yeah, and some people, they're just, their bodies are prepared for it, and they've been doing it for a long time. And so, well, as far as World's Toughest Mudder goes, you're right. Continuing moving is the most important thing, and staying in the pit as short as possible. But after 30 miles and it's past midnight and your legs, that's obviously going to be easier said than done. So that's where your pit crew, I think, is going to be the best thing you have to be able to say, all right, get back out there. And Mark will be able to do that well for you, I think, push you away and maybe curse at you a little bit.
That's exactly what I'll need. Like, suck it up and get out there.
Yeah.
Probably not going to be his choice of words, but,
Right.
That'll be the general gist.
Well, we have picked, I think, the best day to record this week, as there has been plenty of news kind of rolling over the past couple weeks, but just yesterday and today, more news in the OCR world has come out. So we've got news from Terrain, Conquer the Gauntlet, Tough Mudder, and Spartan Race that we're going to cover, and quite a bit of things from each one. I'm kind of excited about this. There's a lot of cool stuff that's in the works and happening right now.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of cool stuff happening right now in the OCR world.
So first off, I wanted to talk about Terrain. Terrain Race has been on a lot of people's lips lately, and it's interesting that they put on so many races, and we've talked about this before. So many races that are so cheap. Even we've asked, how long can they last?
Right.
Whereas I think they've been getting bad press and bad reviews on different races. They've recently had Dustin DeRoe, who used to do the start lines for Spartan at a lot of races. Very well known for his voice and ripping off his pants and having little American flag shorts on underneath. Really good guy. He has started working with Terrain and did an interview on the Overcome and Run podcast with Heather Bodie, and he talked all about how 2019 is supposed to be a big change for them. So they're going to be taking better care of their obstacles, putting more focus into making sure things get paid out and pictures are on time, and really just an overall overhaul of their back end to make the races better, because that's one of the biggest complaints people have been having is you're not seeing your pictures ever for some events, and people aren't getting paid out, and obstacles are falling apart, and different things like that. So, did you get a chance to listen to that interview?
I did, yeah, and it kind of changed my mind on my outlook for Terrain Race, because going into it, before I had listened to that episode, I'm like, surely they can't last much longer. Like they're one of the ones, like, there goes another OCR, like, circling the drain, It kind of gave me hope for another race series to still be in existence. I think and I hope that he's getting a lot of the infrastructure problems ironed out, because it sounds like Terrain Race has the funding to make it happen. I think I just kind of got the feeling that maybe they do have a financial backer that's willing to put in the investment into the company.
Right. They are one of these companies that are run by a bigger company.
Right. And, they're financially blessed enough to be able to put on more races and continue improving and make these improvements for the racers so that it becomes a more lucrative race series for them. And I think that's what they want to do. I just hope it pays off for next year. I haven't, whenever I saw the free registrations that they were promoting, I almost had a feeling that, oh man, this is a last ditch effort to get registrations. But then whenever I heard him say this is more of like an apology to our racers, like, we're sorry, right. 2018 was so rough, but please still have faith in us and come to our events next year, and we promise we'll have better events next year. But I think it's worth, watching next year. I'll probably do one again next year.
Yeah, and they're hoping that with enough free registrations, they'll get enough people in to see the changes and obviously report back to everybody else and say, hey, yeah, they did make these changes and things are looking better. So,
Yeah.
keep registering and keep going to their races.
Yeah. And a lot of OCR racers that have been in this for a couple years know Dustin and know that, he's all about the racers. He was at one of the first Spartan races that I ever did, and like I still have his his start line speech that he used to give at every Spartan race. That got me pumped up more than anything. Like it was probably one of the best start line speeches I've ever experienced at one of my first races. So, I think he's got the support of a lot of OCR racers that have been in this for a couple years, and they're probably willing to give it a chance because of him.
Yeah, I'm hopeful as well and have already registered for the Dallas race in April. But Matt B. Davis, not quite so as hopeful. I know he's expressed concerns saying that he's still not a believer yet. He's reserving his right to wait and
Be
see.
cynical. That's okay. We're going to stay positive.
Hey, isn't there one in New Orleans like in December?
In November, actually.
November.
Yeah, it's like the week after.
Are you doing that one?
Yeah.
Well, that'll still be a 2018 event, so you can't expect anything yet.
Yeah, and I think that's what I have to remember going into it. Like this, it's still not going to be, the improvements aren't going to be put in place. So, I got to give it a chance. But yeah, I'm running it in November. It's like the week after World's Toughest.
Yeah, maybe Kenny. Do you know Kenny? Kenny is a friend of ours back from kickball days that ran with me and Mark in our first year of Spartan racing, and he completed a trifecta with us. But he was on the Warrior Dash obstacle when it fell.
Oh.
So you probably don't know him, but I wonder if he'll be at that terrain race and see if he can make it a record-setting 2 obstacles.
Well, I was about to say, if I see him on any obstacle and it starts wobbling even a little bit, I'm going around it.
Oh, speaking of which, I know we still have Tough Mudder news to get to, but we just talked about races in New Orleans, and I've seen that they took off the New Orleans date for 2019.
Yes. I don't know what the deal with that is. I didn't know if that was because they came out with the Tough Mudder Classic, which we're probably going to talk about, but I think that has something to do with it because they came out with the old format.
Do we know if they're not going to have an event in New Orleans in 2019 or not?
I'm not sure. We don't know yet.
Yeah, that's crazy. Unfortunate if it's the case, because that was pretty awesome having a big brand in Louisiana. I mean, that's 2 years in a row. It was good.
Yeah, the first Tough Mudder I went to in New Orleans, they had a good 10-mile course, so I don't see why they couldn't do it again, unless, the contract with the venue, is...
Well, they definitely have the space out there, that's for sure.
It was kind of a poor showing last year with the new format.
It was also the very first race of the year.
Yeah.
And that was everybody's first opportunity to start talking about how they didn't care for what they were doing in 2018. So it didn't get a good response.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
I kind of hope it comes back to New Orleans just so we can have more stuff down here.
That's news for another time, I guess.
Yeah.
Next up, Conquer the Gauntlet just released the Continuum details. Not necessarily like the rule book, but more details than what we've had before.
Yeah.
So we've talked before about how the Continuum is Conquer the Gauntlet's first go at a multi-lap race.
Yeah, so we knew it was coming. We just didn't know the details.
Yeah, so pretty exciting. And the details that they kicked out talked about the timing and the lappage and the penalties and how all that's going to work. First off, they're saying you're going to start with the Elite Wave, and you can actually run Elite and Continuum too. So if you run a Continuum, you'll just, I guess, cross the finish line and go back onto the pit and just keep on going.
Yeah.
But starting with the Elites, the race will go until 5 hours after the Elite Wave lets off. So if the Elite Wave lets off at 9, so you can start your last lap after 2. But they haven't mentioned if there's a cutoff time at the end of that. I take it's going to be the normal cutoff time for them, which is always been when they start pulling up the flags on the course.
Yeah, I would imagine it would have to have a cutoff time as far as like when you could start your last lap.
Yeah, well, when you can start your last lap is that 5-hour cutoff. So 5 hours after the elites take off is when you can start your last lap. But how long can you be on the course after that?
Right.
They didn't say for sure, but I take it it's when they start pulling up the course.
Yeah.
The pit zone or pit area that they're going to have after you complete each lap and go in is going to be called Lion's Den, which I thought was cute, I guess.
Clever.
Yeah, and then to continue on with their lion theme, you can have pit crew members, and they're going to be called the Pride.
Don't they already have a Pride?
They have a page called the Pride,
The
but this
Pride.
is going to be your own Pride, like
Okay.
your own little pack.
Your own little Lions pack.
You can specify up to three people that are part of your Pride to be your pit crew. It did say, interestingly, that these people can be regular participants, so they can be running the course. Now, they're not supposed to be giving you aid or anything on the course, just in the pit, as normal rules for a race like that.
How would they police something like that, though? I just don't think, if they're running the course with you, I just don't think that they'd be able to enforce something like that.
Well, maybe they won't, but
I mean, I guess, and like a lot of stuff in OCR. I mean, I guess you could run it off the honor system.
But sure, that's, according to the rules, that's what it says. So if you're running by and you see David or Philip or somebody out there and they see you getting aid from somebody else, then they might say, hey, you're disqualified or whatever.
Yeah.
I thought it just so different that I've never seen where a pit crew can actually be a race participant. Now, not that they're doing the continuum with you. They're, maybe they're just out there running as well, and maybe they're running elite. And once y'all are both done, they help you in the pit. And then every time you come around, they help you in the pit again.
That could be super helpful, too, especially whenever you might need a pacer for the later laps.
Well, they did specify for the Pride, for your pit crew, their pit crew, so maybe they paid to race elite, so they run that first lap, and they've got their little wristband or whatever it is they're going to have to be part of your Pride. That does not allow them to get back on the course to run more laps. Right. This is something that's new for Conquer the Gauntlet, because in the past we've always just been able to go hop back in the next wave and then and keep on running if you want. But that's changing. So now, if you want to run multiple laps, it's another $20 per lap.
Okay.
Interesting and a little sad, only because we're so used to being able to run multiple laps for free, but understandable from a business perspective.
Right, and I mean, I think they're going to have plenty of people interested in doing this endurance series that they're starting. I mean, it would make sense that they would have to start doing something like that, because how else are you going to know who's doing what?
But even just regular people that run one lap and then decide they want to run a second, supposedly aren't going to be allowed to just go hop back in the next wave. They need to go pay another $20 and then they can go again.
Right. So I'm sure like some kind of wristband or something like that will be in place for those that are running the continuum.
Yeah, continuum will probably have a marker or something that specifies that you're doing that. And we all know that they have some of the harder obstacles out in OCR. So what they're doing for continuum, we know Evan Preparis knows very well how many laps you can do before you just can't do any more of those obstacles. And so it's not mandatory completion for only 4 of the obstacles. So the harder ones, which include Pegatron, Cliffhanger, which is the monkey bars over water, Tarzan Swing, which is their rig, and Stairway to Heaven, the A-frame with the steps. So for those 4, if you fail and want to continue, you can still try as many times as you like, but if you want to continue, you have to do a penalty performance, which I thought was a very interesting phrasing. We used to just
performance.
Yeah, penalty laps or penalty burpees or whatever. So this penalty performance includes 15 Atlas burpees and 15 medicine ball thrusters. Do you know what an Atlas burpee is?
I mean, I know we do burpees with the brute force bags. You're just basically doing a burpee, but then you have to lift up the bag up over your head.
Yeah, that's what I'm curious. Is it going to be a burpee with a ball?
With an atlas or some kind of Atlas ball or something?
Yeah, if you're doing that, when you do the medicine ball thruster after that, what is that? Like a squat with the
Yeah,
medicine
just like a
ball?
squat with a medicine ball and like do the thruster with the medicine ball.
So you're just holding it and squatting and thrusting your hips, I guess.
Well, yeah, you're holding the medicine ball and you squat, and then whenever you come up from the squat, you press the medicine ball up above your head.
Gotcha. All around, so many parts of this are things that we typically see in multi-lap races, but slightly different. We've not seen. First off, the 5-hour cutoff is different in itself.
5 hours is not a lot of time either.
Yeah, normally a multi-lap race is at least 8 hours,
right?
Or even 6 at the least. But yeah, 5 hours, like that's going to be interesting because a shorter race, even with it being multi-lap, is going to see people pushing even harder.
Yeah, because it's only 5 hours.
I think it'll make for an interesting race. Plus, their obstacles are tough, so it's going to be taking it out of you already.
Yeah, and I'm sure for those that are more proficient at the obstacles, it would more so benefit them to just do the obstacles versus doing the penalty, depending on how many laps they've already done.
Yeah, I can imagine giving each of those obstacles, even Pegatron, one try, as long as there's no backup, and then doing the penalty performance.
The penalty performance.
I feel like I'm gonna bow after each time I do those.
Right.
Thank you. I've done my Atlas burpees
penalty.
and medicine ball thrusters. They're gonna have prizes for only the first place, male and female. So $100 for them and a plaque that says that you're awesome, I guess. Tough luck to those that are second and third. Maybe they'll at least let you stand on the podium.
Yeah, stand next to them. But that's how battle races used to do it. I mean, we used to just do the first male and female.
Yeah, and that made me sad because I got second one time that year. And I got nothing for it.
You got a pat on the back and a medal.
I don't think I got a pat on the back.
No. Yeah, I think they changed that whenever we did the battle race championships in Baton Rouge last year.
They did.
Yeah.
And they did have first, second, and third there, and first, second, and third this year. Tough Mudder Dallas happened 2 weekends ago.
Yeah, another rainy, muddy race.
It was the muddiest race I have ever seen, and from the words of Tough Mudder employees, they were saying it was the muddiest course they've ever had. The muddiest course Tough Mudder has ever had.
Wow. I can believe that.
Seeing it, being there, I could truly believe it too, because even when we ran Elite or Tougher and ran, first ones on the course, it was still already a super muddy mess.
Ugh.
But then later in the day, I went back out with my wife and her brother, and it was just insane how sloppy it was.
I saw the pictures from that. Like, everybody was just covered in mud from their chin to their toes. I wouldn't be able to handle that. I don't like it.
Well, usually when a race is muddy, there's muddy sections.
Yeah.
But this was the entire festival area, the entire course, everything. There was not a spot that was not just sink to your ankles muddy.
Didn't they pull racers off the course and close it down and shut it down?
I think it was about 1:00 that the rain had gotten. The rain had continued, and they shut the course down because there really was getting to a point where their vehicles would not be able to get to people on the course if they needed medical aid.
That's crazy.
It was unfortunate, but they did send out emails after saying if you were affected by the course shutdown, send us a message. Click this link or whatever, and we'll give you a ticket for another event, which was awesome.
Well, that's good. They're still taking care of their racers.
Yeah, and I think as seasoned veterans, we're kind of used to that stuff happening. But for people like my brother-in-law, this is really his first OCR other than like an inflatable obstacle course race or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So for him, he was super excited, been training all year, and got out there, and then we were literally 1.5 miles into the we were doing the half, but still 1.5 miles into the 5-mile course. So it was really a disappointment, and of course, the first thing you say is, "I want a refund" or whatever, or at least a something. So I am really glad that Tough Mudder did that, because it would be a shame, because they would have a lot of people hate them if they didn't offer transfers
Right.
to other events.
Yeah. And especially since so many waves got to go out and they didn't shut it down until around 1:00 in the afternoon, like you would think that they'd be like, oh, well, so sad. We
Right.
had so many waves that were able to go off, but it's a good thing that they were able to take care of all the runners that didn't get to do the whole course and had to get pulled off.
Absolutely. And Tough Mudder really does seem like they're trying to, Tough Mudder has always been, it seems like a good company that really cares about the people, because Tough Mudder's got that constantly coming back crowd. It's
Yeah.
always a lot of the same people and stuff.
Right.
So for them to do that is very Tough Mudder-like, but they definitely didn't have to. So I'm glad to see that TMHQ has still got a good head on their shoulders.
Right.
So along with that, Tough Mudder has announced how, they get it that 2018 wasn't so hot. So they are changing things up a little bit for 2019, promising that their festival area and the race itself, obstacle-wise, is going to be bigger and better than 2018 was, kind of going back to their roots. I think getting rid of the 5K in half. Am I correct in that?
Yes, because they're going back to the old format. Yeah.
They're only going to have Tough Mudder Classic, which is going to be not 10 to 12 miles, but 8 to 10 miles. So, a full course, but no other options. I'm sure they'll still have the toughest and hopefully TMX, but no event day, no other options other than probably tougher, I would bet.
Yeah.
So that's pretty interesting in itself, and hopefully we'll see some more big obstacles return.
Some older obstacles. They kind of teased at that too. They like bringing back maybe some older obstacles, maybe bringing in some new ones. Which I think the 8 to 10 miles is like a really good distance. That's like pretty good for an OCR.
Yeah, but when it's nothing but walls and crawls, then it's not really all that fun. But when you've got things like King of Swingers and Augustus Gloop, that was one of my favorite ones.
Yeah.
Even though it's not crazy hard, it's just this big cool thing that you do.
Yeah, it's just fun.
Looking forward to that. Well, another awesome release just today is the World's Toughest Mudder rules came out for this year. So we've got all the info on what's the pricing, who can get the pricing, what's the bonus pricing, all that good stuff. So first off, the pricing is going to be $10K for the first place male and female, and it trickles down from there. I forget exactly what it was, but the more interesting part to me is the bonus pricing. So the bonus pricing in the past, they did $50,000, I think it was, when Ryan and John Albin broke 100 miles as a team.
Mm-hmm.
I think they maybe did $50,000 whenever Ryan broke 100 as a single person.
Mm-hmm.
But this time it's going to be only $10,000, but still $10,000 for breaking the historical mileage record. So for guys, that's 115 miles, but for ladies, that's only 95 miles.
Yeah, because nobody since Amelia Boone got 90 miles back.
Right, Rhea Coble got 90 miles this past year as well, but in the past, it's always been, the women can still get that mileage, that bonus record as well, but it had to be 100 miles.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the first time that they've brought that goal down for the ladies. Very definitely achievable, putting it just slightly closer to arm's reach.
Yeah.
So that's really, really awesome, and I'm sure we can definitely expect to see a few ladies going after that.
Oh, yeah, for sure. But there's definitely been a lot of speculation about if the bonus pricing was even going to be coming back with all the issues that Tough Mudder has had throughout the year. So it's good to hear that, at least the people who are competing for money will have something to compete for.
Yep. Now, this is one of those things where you do have to be an elite contender. So you do have to have qualified by competing in the toughest and getting top 5 at one of the toughest events. I do believe if you are a past podium finisher for World's Toughest, I think you also are elite contender. And you can also just be a super awesome, cool person.
Right.
And write in and say, hey, I'm a super awesome, cool person. Let me be an elite contender. And they would do that.
Let me in.
Now, a first, I believe, for World's Toughest Mudder is age bracket awards. How cool is that?
That's really cool. I'm excited about that.
Now, the spacing of these age groups are very peculiar, but still really cool that they have something. Now, it's only the first place in each age group, but still that's better than nothing. So really awesome that they're doing that.
Yeah, because I feel like they're the only series that kind of hasn't brought in the age group awards or, age group recognition, anything.
So the age groups are the ones that you and I fall into is 20 to 39.
That's not cool. That's so not cool.
So that's a pretty big age group, and it's probably
It's a
the
huge
biggest
age group.
one.
Yeah.
Sign up wise, it's probably the biggest one too.
Right. I mean, there's probably not going to be as many 20 somethings, but just the 30 to 39 age group is pretty stacked. So
Yeah, I don't quite get their reasoning. I don't know what it is. I would love to know. It's very, very interesting. But the other age groups, you've got 40 to 49, and then you've got 50 plus, and then you've got 16 to 19. So those 16 and 19-year-olds out there, they've probably got the best chance to stand to best odds.
I think it should be at least 16 to 24 should be an age group. Because I feel like that age demographic is pretty much on the same skill level.
It is funny, 20 to 39. That's a big range.
It's a huge range. You never see that. That's at least split up into 2, if not 4 age groups.
Crazy. But those people that do get that get a free entry into World's Toughest 2019.
Goals.
Pretty awesome. They had a list that they put out showing all the contenders and the elite contenders.
Yeah.
Which you and I were both on.
Yeah, I had to double check it. I was just I just want to make sure, because it would be just my luck that my name isn't on the list, and it should be, and then I have to go through 15 different channels just to get my name on the list.
So I'm looking at the awards, the mileage awards now. 25 miles gets a patch that's pretty standard. 50 miles you get a brown bib. 75 miles you get a silver bib and a free toughest entry for 2019. So that's cool.
I don't like to think of it as brown. I like to think of it as bronze.
That is odd. Why not be bronze?
Because you got silver and gold, right?
Right.
So I'll just keep thinking.
Why have they not thought of that?
I'll just keep thinking of it as brown because it's brown. you can't make a bronze bib. It has to be brown.
Well, yeah, I guess we can call it bronze. Now, the race itself is going to be another noon to noon race. You can start your last lap by 12 p.m. on Sunday, but you have to finish that lap for it to count by 1:30. So that's pretty standard. I believe the last 2, maybe 3 years were that same time. To finish as a 24-hour finisher, you have to finish your last lap after 8 a.m. That's interesting just in that you could run a lap that takes you from midnight to 8 a.m., but as long as you stop after 8, then you still get your headband. In previous years, I believe last year it was like that too, but in 2016, it was you had to finish your last lap after 12. So we literally were on the course and waiting, I think kind of near the cliff, kind of towards the end. And we were waiting for the timer, waiting for it to get close enough. So I probably finished at 12:05 or something like that. And there was basically a big wave of people that went through about that time. Which makes me wonder, why 8? It just seems so early. You're not really a 24-hour finisher.
For 8 a.m., for the elite contenders, that leaves enough time for at least 2 more laps.
One thing I think people want to make sure of is you've got a pit crew out there. Yes, within the pit, your pit crew can help you do pretty much anything. But once you get on the course, your pit crew, while they can go out on the course and see you and talk to you, they can't hand you anything, they can't give you anything, and they can't pace you. So they can't be running alongside you even off the course. That's a no-no. So be careful of that. If you find yourself running and your pit crew is running by, getting info from you, what do you want to eat, make sure they don't stay with you for too long.
Motivational support only.
Info gathering and cheers.
Cheerleaders.
Okay, anything else about Tough
No,
Mudder?
but it's getting really close and it's getting very real.
Yeah, the more like this video came or this news came out, all the info about the brunch and the camping and all the other fun activities that are going to happen has been coming out. And
Yeah.
it's getting exciting. I'm ready.
Yes.
Are you ready?
No, but yes. I'm just looking forward to the experience, just because I've never done anything like this before, so it's gonna be interesting.
I've been having my issues with like overheating or hydration or whatever, and at some point, even you see some of the elites get to a point where they just bonk or hit a wall or whatever you want to call it. So I think the best thing you can do for yourself is don't start out fast thinking, oh, I'm gonna ramp up all these miles in the beginning. That way, when I slow down later, I'll have all those miles in already. No. It doesn't work like that. Like, yes, that's kind of true, but you could get to a point where you're going slower than you would have had you started at a slower pace.
Yeah, and I can attest to that because playing catch up with my hydration was not fun. In my mind, I knew, like, I could be doing so much more right now, but I can't because I don't want to die. Like I said, I wasn't dehydrated going into it, but once I started running and once I started going, I felt like, and the sun was out the whole time. I felt like I had to play catch up pretty much the majority of the race. It's not fun and it doesn't feel good. And, and you could just feel your performance just lagging.
So my plan is to, instead of starting at like a 9-minute pace, which would be my normal, kind of longer distance, not longer distance, but like, 10-mile run. That's probably what I'll start at. But even then, I'm going to try and get myself to go even slower than 9:30, like really slow it down so that I'm saving myself to just get that distance in. To kind of counteract this hydration issue, I don't want to run with a pack because I've done that before and it's just I don't want to do it. It's irritating. So I do think I want to try out the little bottles that you wear on the back of your hips, like got the little belt. I've never used that before, but it seems like they would be nice and out of the way. Like I've seen people use those, and I think it would be better than like even the vest that you've got them right there on your chest, and I think even that would feel like it's in the way when you're crawling and doing
even
stuff.
That's totally cumbersome. The only issue I have with the bottles on the belt, because I've looked into those too, is just like you said, the rolling and the crawling, and plus you're going to be having to go through water and everything, and those bottles are going to be submerged. That's my only concern.
Do they snap in there enough that they would not pop out in the water?
Yeah, for sure.
If there's air in them?
Yeah, for sure. I just wouldn't want to take a chance even getting close to drinking that nasty water.
Well, they've got lids on
them,
right?
Right. Of course they've got lids on them,
well,
but
I mean,
you still have to drink out of them after.
Yeah, but anything you're wearing, even on your if it was on top of your head, is going to go in the water at some point.
Exactly.
So I might give that a shot.
Yeah, I know. I think I saw, was it Ryan Atkins or maybe it was Robert Killian that was running with them one year that had him on his belt. I think so. Yeah? I don't know. I could be mistaken. But yeah, I've seen people wear them. I've never tried them out.
I know Mark's using them a lot, so I'll ask him to get some tips. Okay, time for Spartan. I feel like we should have a Spartan theme song. Joe DeSena saying "Spartan up" or something. Joe DeSena, the Joe DeSena race has given us some news. No, Spartan has said that they came out earlier this week, or was it last week, and said that they're returning the gladiators and wolves on the course. Now, a lot to break down in that statement.
See, the gladiators were before my time, but Daniel's told me about them.
I think I did one race that had them, maybe two, but they're unique. I could live without them. If they'd never brought them back, I wouldn't care. But a lot of people are pretty excited about them. But the most important thing I think about this is that they said that they're going to be optional. So basically, you take a different lane at the end there if you want to go through those. Basically, you don't have to do it if you don't want to. It's not like in the old days where everybody had to go through there, because I think that was part of the problem, is that people were getting smacked in the face or in the legs and tripping and stuff like that. So they'll probably go a little easier on you if you don't look like you can take it. But if you don't want to take it, then you don't have to.
But what's to stop them from running after you?
Well, I think that's the point, is they'll have a separate space to say, I'm going this way, so don't bother. And that makes sense, especially with it being a competitive race for the elites and the age groups, is that at the end of it, you can't make a standardized race with those guys in it. So for the elites, surely they can just pass right on by if they want. The wolves, though.
What's the wolf?
Live wolves on the course, like running around free in a cage. What do you mean?
Are they
going to
have
Joe?
Are they going to ask Ryan and Lindsay if they can borrow like Sunto or something? Have them run around the course?
No. So from the things that I've seen, Spartan has said that it's not actual wolves. They're actually talking about the SGX coaches. Do they normally refer to them as wolves? I've never heard that
I don't
before.
know. I've never heard that before either. That's the first.
Sid? We'll have to ask Sid if
he a wolf?
knows anything about being called a wolf. That means that they're going to be on the course, like at obstacles, to help you with obstacle technique, I guess.
That'd be kind of cool.
Like, hey, I see you doing this. Let's try, maybe try doing it this way. Or so some encouragement / obstacle training.
That might be kind of cool.
Live on the course. I think that was kind of a cheesy, big announcement. We're putting wolves on the course. Oh, it's not what you think.
Just kidding. They're just SGX coaches.
If they had some wolves chained up and you could pet them and somehow them not bite you, I'd be into that. That would be awesome. That's what I was hoping for.
Like I said, just go catch Sunto at one of the races.
I've been close enough that I could have petted him. I didn't take the chance. I didn't want to be one of those. I know, plenty of people are forward enough to run up to them and say, hey, can I pet the dog? But after you've run, 15 kilometers up and down a mountain and you see Ryan Atkins there and he just did the same and he's just relaxing outside of a coffee shop, I did not want to impose on him. So, Ryan, if you ever listen to this, just know that I do want to meet you, but I also don't want to impose.
You still pet the dog, though. You don't ever pass up that opportunity.
All right, next time I see him, I'm going to go up and be like, Anna said that I have to pet the dog, so it's not my fault. He's going to be like, who's Anna? That other lady.
That other lady.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to get that on. I'm going to write that on my bib this year.
Yes, please do that. Remember how Ryan put nobody on his last year?
So is he going to put somebody on the back of his bib this year? I think I saw that on one of the comments on his article. Like, last year he was nobody, so this year is if he's going to put somebody on the back of his bib.
Yeah, and I think they said if when he was nobody, if nobody passed him, does that mean that they won the race?
Yeah, I won WTM.
That's silly. Another good bit of news for people that love volunteering. I have never volunteered myself. As far as signing up, I've kind of been pulled into volunteering at Conquer the Gauntlet one time. So I've never actually signed up and volunteered and gotten a free race or anything like that. Have you ever done that before?
With Spartan, yeah. I did it. Yeah, I did it at the Glen Rose, in Glen Rose not last year, a couple years back.
Over the years, it seems like the news has always been that the benefits from that have been getting less and less.
Whenever I volunteered, I was basically just there to watch the haystacks. People going over the haystacks in Glen for the sprint last year, or a couple years ago.
How long did you do it for?
It was. I think it was 8 hours. It was either 7 or 8 hours. But I mean, I got a T-shirt. I got a sandwich and crackers out of it for lunch, but and I got a free race, so it paid for. I used that to register for the Alabama race later on that year. So yeah, this was a couple years back whenever they had the Spartan in Alabama still in Saraland.
So you did get a full free race,
right? But I couldn't register for elite or competitive or anything like that. But it was a free open registration. If I wanted to upgrade to competitive or whatever, I just had to pay the difference or whatever.
Yeah, and I think since then they've changed it to where it was you could only get afternoon race, or it was only half 50% or 75% or something like that. Like you didn't get the the full benefits that you used to get like back when you did it.
Right.
And so that's the thing that they announce, is that they've heard how people complained and they've made those changes. So they're going back to 100% off morning and afternoon open heats and lunches.
I wish I had gotten my lunch like whenever it was actually lunchtime though.
When did they give it to you?
Like at the end, whenever I was checking out because I was done.
Oh, for dinner?
Yeah. Well, I finished in the afternoon because I volunteered in the morning, and so like I was there from before the first elite wave took off until like, I don't know, maybe 1:00 in the afternoon or something like that.
Was it a full 8 hour, like a straight 8 hours, or did you have a break in there?
Not really. I don't think I had a break.
So just a straight through 8 hours?
Straight through, just standing there watching people go over the haystacks.
Did you bring some lunch with you or anything?
No, I brought water with me. I brought like a couple of snacks.
Okay, I was going to say, you didn't eat anything for 8 hours? Think I'd die.
Yeah, I had snacks. And then the sandwich that we got at the end was like a bologna sandwich, and it had mayo on it. And I'm like, I think I'm good with the mayo. So I just, mayo in the heat, I think I'll pass.
Yeah, it's kind of, I mean, you're not in prison. They should
exactly.
give you an option. Hey, we've got either bologna and mayo or ham and mustard or whatever,
yeah,
something, at least two options.
I mean, it wasn't a terrible experience. I just,
That's coming 2020.
Yeah. Ham sandwiches.
2 options and sandwiches.
Maybe separate condiments in their own little packages.
Interestingly, the Spartan World Championships happened in Tahoe again, and sounds like it was a really well run and put on event. The race itself was really awesome. I mean, Robert Killian being in the lead for the majority of the race, and then obviously having issues at that tire, and then John Albon and Ryan Atkins passing them up. Man, those guys were freaking flying.
Yeah, I saw Ryan at the end of the race. I think I saw a video of him finishing, and he just looked spent.
I think John was a little further. I don't know how far back him and Ryan were for the most of the race, but I know Ryan was not in camera shot for a while. Like, he was back in 6th or 7th or something like that, and that's kind of typical for him. But for him to go wherever he was all the way up to 2nd within those last few miles is pretty nuts.
That's crazy.
Like, he was, they weren't even showing him for a while, and then next thing you know,
there he is.
He's literally getting on. He was getting on the rig at the end as John was getting off of it. Like, I mean, that's crazy how much time he made up right there.
Yeah, I was listening to part of that podcast that Robert did with Hunter and Benny, and Robert said that they had to have been dropping like sub 4-minute miles because he said he looked down at his watch at one point and he was doing a 4:30, and like he just could not catch up to them.
Yeah, that's freaking insane.
Yeah, that's probably why Ryan looked as rough as he did at the end.
But he also saw that John had it, and he didn't really have any reason to run over the finish line.
True. And I think just the fact that John was there, he knew he was going to have to push. Like, it wasn't going to be as easy as all the other races were.
Yeah, and interestingly, John Albon, since he finished first at the World Championships, he's got the opportunity to go after the $1 million prize if he wins the trifecta weekend in Greece and puts up 100 miles in Iceland and wins Iceland.
But is he even doing either one of those?
He is.
He's doing both of them? So he's going after the million.
If you get a chance, go look. Spartan put out a pretty cool video that shows him talking about it, and he supposedly scrambled to get a last couple of races in to get his trifecta, because you have to have done a trifecta to do the trifecta weekend in Greece.
Right. But for this World Championships, technically he didn't do any of the World Championship series, but being a past winner, he was kind of grandfathered in.
Yeah, he qualified that way, I believe. So he's going to go for it, from what he said. So, of course, the trifecta weekend will happen first, and Robert Killian will be there, and I know he'll try to, he's not going to make it easy on him, I'm sure.
No.
And So we've got that to see first. If he doesn't win that weekend, then Iceland will be, maybe he won't even do Iceland then. Who knows? But
Yeah.
that'll be interesting to see because it's not about winning. You don't have to get first place in all 3 of those races. It's about your points over the course of that weekend. So I'm really curious to see how that plays out. That's going to be fun. Now, the other person that has the ability or that has the technical qualifications to be able to try to go after the $1 million is Lindsay Webster, because she was the other winner. I don't know if she's going after it. I haven't heard or seen anything saying that she's interested in going to Greece to try and take this further.
That would be kind of cool, but she's also said in the past before, too, that she's not as strong at World's Toughest Mudder just because it's a 24-hour deal. So
Right.
Iceland being 24 hours, like, that's just not one of her strong suits. Like, 8 hours, she could do 8 hours all day long, but, the 24-hour races, she's not as strong at just yet.
Yeah, and for no woman to have done 100 miles at a 24-hour OCR yet is a big factor too. But I think Ryan Atkins said that he is going to not go... Well, shoot. Now that they've put out the bonus prizes for World's Toughest Mudder, he might run individual, because I think they were thinking about running as a team, as a 2-man team, him and Lindsay, which would save him... let him rest up for Iceland. So now that he's not going after the million for Spartan, but he could still go to Iceland to try to do 100 miles there for whatever, just for fun. I guess it's yet to be seen. I wouldn't be surprised if he goes back to do individual for World's Toughest, which will put Robert in a funny spot because I think he was getting really excited to do World's Toughest and try to get 100 or try to win himself, because the only person he's lost to is Ryan.
Yeah. He's also got a lot of stuff on his plate. He even said on that podcast, like, he races more than probably any other racer out there right now. So he's got a lot of stuff on his plate to consider. Even going to
but he
Toughest.
still does it. I mean, he did 105 miles last year. Like, it's just cool. Like, what does that mean if he actually focused on one race a year, that he would do a 200 miles? Like, I don't think it works like that, but it is kind of funny. Like, he does put in as much time as he does, and he still performs at the level he does. It's pretty crazy.
Right. Exactly.
The other interesting thing that came out of the World Championships, I think, was Rebecca Hammond coming in second. This girl coming out of nowhere, only having done
dark horse.
Yeah, only having done a few Spartan races this year.
Yeah, like, she wasn't on anybody's radar to win, to place as high as she did. I don't think she was on anybody's radar to place top 3.
And watching the race, it was really neat to see. Like, Lindsay got through the spear, Susanna come through and missed it, Faye come through and missed it, Rebecca Hammond got it. I forget where Rhea Coble was. She may have missed it too. But then I think she failed Twister right after, maybe. I forget which obstacle it was, but still, even with that, she still made it through and took second. It's pretty nuts. Yeah.
And she's a med student.
Yeah. Well, she has said on different podcasts that if she does focus on racing this next year, she won't do a residency yet. She'll wait and do that, because once she does residency,
I think she's doing her ER residency right now or something like that, whenever they had interviewed her on Link Endurance.
But once she gets into that, then it's going to be basically no racing for a year.
Yeah.
Now, the other Spartan news that just came out this week is that they are splitting their age groups down. This year.
Finally.
This year was 20 to 29, 30 to 39, 40 to 49. So you got these big groups. And actually, I forget if it was broken down differently than that. But I know for us, it was a large group, which was interesting because this year, whereas in the past years, I was within top 20 in my age group. But then this year, I felt like I ran one of my best races ever in Austin and still was like 24th or so.
Yeah, the stadium race, like, for me in my age group, I had never really placed out of the top 10 before this year in my age group. And whenever we went to Dallas Stadium and I saw like my age group, I think I placed like 14th or something like that. I was like, what? I've never placed out of the top 10. Like, that was just such a humbling experience. But at the same time, I knew, like, okay, there's probably like a lot of people who have been running elite that place, pretty low in the elite, but they know they can come down to the age group and race age group and totally dominate age group.
Right, but at the same time, I think that Spartan has seen that they did get the interest that they were hoping for. They didn't know for sure if they were going to get as many registrations. I think so. This next year, they're going to have possibly even more people coming in the age group, but you've got the smaller age group, so that is definitely good for people like us who want to stand a chance of ever podium at a Spartan race because there's just so many people. But on top of that, I think the more achievable thing is qualifying for either OCR World Championships, NORAM, or the Spartan North American Championships.
Yeah, and this will be my last year in this age group, but it'll be okay.
So we'll see what the qualifications are for those races, coming here soon within the next month or two. But as of right now, it looks like they'll be more achievable.
Hopefully. You
saying this is your last year in that age group, did you catch that?
Because I'll be 34 next month.
Okay, so by December, which is the cutoff, so instead of your age on race day for Spartan, it's going to be your age starting January, the end of December through the entire year, whatever your age is the previous year, basically. Which that's cool. That's cool that you're going to be racing the same people all year instead of it changing in and out as people change age.
Right.
I think that was a smart move. They've also announced 6 new obstacles. That, I think, probably blew my mind the most out of all the news that have come over the past month. That Spartan, 6 new obstacles? Really? Like, that's...
What? That's a lot for Spartan.
That's crazy. Like, in the past years, they've had... this last year, I don't think they had any. In the year before, maybe 2, maybe 3, but 6?
Yeah.
That's nuts.
Because, they did the whole thing where they would change up their rig to match whatever race the people were doing, and then they had Olympus and Twister, and then sometimes they would mash Twister and the monkey bars together.
Yeah,
but
and Bender.
And Bender, right.
So they're I think ourselves as well as plenty of other people have been talking crap about Spartan this entire time. Oh, they're looking to standardize. They're never going to innovate ever again. But they're proving us all wrong and doing 6 new obstacles as well as different configurations throughout the year.
Which is cool. Because I actually like the Twister monkey bar combination. I like it. Whenever I first tried it in Tahoe. Now, Tahoe, not this year, but last year, it was a lot longer. It was a lot longer. Yeah,
like 17 miles. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. But... Well, no, just that rig, just the Twister monkey bar Twister.
Oh, okay.
Configuration. Yeah, it was a lot longer than what I saw this year because it looked like maybe there was like only 5 or 6 monkey bars, and then you transition to Twister, and then like maybe another 5 or 6 monkey bars. But no, it was a lot. It was a lot longer.
I think the harder obstacles, particularly for the championship races, are cool, but I don't think they are conducive to a better race.
Right. I don't think so either. I think they're fun to have at a world championship race because the people that aren't necessarily competing for elite or anything, they get to experience those new obstacles that people haven't gotten to get on anywhere else.
But when the top 3 ladies fail the last rig, it just seems silly.
That's a rough one to have at the end.
Well, especially when it's 3 sections long. So yeah, I think it's a good move to make the race a more of a race instead of the biggest challenge that you can put these elites through.
Yeah.
Lastly, our last bit of news is Spartan taking away parking fees and bag check fees.
Yay.
And was there something else too, or is it just those 2 things?
I think it's just
those two. Parking fees and bag check fees, and rolling those into the fees for the race registration itself. So instead of having to bring cash and paying for parking and paying for your bag check, it's going to be a simple $3 or $6, depending on if the venue charges for parking, then you'll only have to pay the $3 fee. If the venue doesn't charge for parking themselves, then it'll be the $6 fee, which covers both your parking and the bag check. So both of those processes are going to be smoother and quicker and hopefully better for everybody. So while some people are going to be like, well, I don't use bag check and I carpool, so that sucks. But overall, it's still going to help provide a better experience for you. So hopefully people will see that benefit and it'll go over well.
God, how much money do you think they've made after all these years just from bag checks and parking fees?
Yeah, $1 million. That's what they're going to pay John with.
Like an
they're going to pay John with bag
money.
Check and parking fee money.
Right, exactly.
But no, I think more races should do that. Like having to stop and hand somebody $20 and them give you your change back or whatever it is, I think is silly.
Yeah. Just go in, park, check your bag. It just makes for a smoother process. And I know whenever I had the trifecta pass, or not trifecta pass, but the season pass 1 year, it did make it a lot quicker and easier because, that was one of the things that was included was a bag check in the season passes. So that was kind of nice to have.
But didn't you have to, like, they had your name on a list and they had to look it up and confirm it? So even that still took more time. So this will just be like, oh, you want bag check? Here, go drop it off, or what? We'll take it or whatever.
It's all good.
Like, there's no question.
Yeah, exactly. Are you doing any more Spartans next year?
Yeah, I'm gonna do Austin.
You're gonna do Austin? I just feel like I'm gonna be scaling back a little.
Yeah,
on Spartans
I am as well, but Austin's always been like going down and camping has been the fun part of it. Go run 2 days, camp out, just have a good time that way. I've enjoyed it every time.
Yeah, that's always been a fun venue too.
The Ultra in 2019 that's still up in the air for me for Dallas.
Oh, for Dallas Ultra Beast.
But with all these talks and changes in age group, if I run Austin and I qualify for the North American Championships, I might maybe want to do that.
There you go.
So we'll see. So that's the end of our news. Quite a lot of things that have come about.
It's a lot.
Yeah, it's been a fun week.
I mean, we just recorded a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, 2 weeks ago. I probably released it a week ago.
Yeah, true.
So if that's all you care about is hearing the news, feel free to go ahead and hop off and not hang up because you're not on the phone with us. But stop listening from here on. But there's one more thing I wanted to talk about before we go, and this is very interesting. It's kind of something I've been wanting to talk about for a while, but I don't want to be rude or ugly when it's not warranted. But something interesting has come up that I think kind of is in the same boat. So I do want to talk about it. What do you think?
Yeah, let's do it.
So obstacle course racing media, OCRM, is the media network, as they so put it, of obstacle racing. They've been doing live streams from different races, typically smaller races like City Course Challenge and maybe a Bone Frog here or there or something like that. But they have a booth, and they have Laura Mesner doing updates weekly. They've got Benny Gifford doing his Benny Breakdown videos, which some people would say that the Benny's Breakdown is the best thing that they've got as far as all of their content.
Yeah.
They've got a podcast. They've got the Metals and Chill show with the Metal Addict. So they've got quite a bit of content coming out, and they're pretty good about having emails come out when there's big news. But some people would say, and some people have said, that OCRM is like the Kmart of obstacle media. I believe those words came out of Matt B. Davis's mouth, which he wouldn't, I'm sure he wouldn't deny. So before we talk about the thing that brought this about, I think I'm just going to go ahead and say all this.
Just get it all out there. Just put it all out there.
When we first started was when they were first starting up. And it was really funny timing because as I started thinking about how I wanted to do OCR talk and it be no interviews and a talk show. And that's when I think Benny's Breakdown started coming out. And so it's almost like they got the jump on me when I had these ideas, but it's not like they knew about my ideas.
Right.
And at the same time, Obstacle Racing Media started doing roundtables with other obstacle racing podcast people. So it was really at a funny time that all this other stuff was happening. I was like, crap, come on, I got to get this out because everybody else is beating me to the punch.
Yeah.
And I'm glad I went with it. And I still see, like, they definitely don't do that stuff all the time. And so I really do think that we have a place. And I've enjoyed it. And I think we've gotten a good response from what we do.
Yeah.
So I'm glad we're here. And I'm glad we're in this space. But when we first started, I reached out to Daniel, the owner of Obstacle Racing Media, the owner of Obstacle Course Racing Media, and asked to see what, were they interested in doing a partnership? What did they even think about that kind of stuff? And they came back and said that, yeah, they are, and told us, like, what we would get out of it and stuff like that. And so I talked to them and then decided not to go with it. I would just say that I don't know. I didn't have a feeling that made me say, yes, this is something I should definitely do. I never got that feeling. I didn't feel
feeling.
I didn't feel like Daniel was a bad guy. I didn't feel like it was going to be a bad setup. I just didn't have the warm and fuzzies about it. So we did.
Yeah.
Now, maybe if we had done it, we would be getting a bunch of ad revenue money. And right now we're getting zero money. So maybe it would have been a good thing, but I don't know. But I'm still, like I said, I'm glad that we didn't. Just because I do like, the biggest reason, honestly, is because we can't keep a schedule. There's no way.
Right.
With our schedules, we could not put a podcast out once a week. It would be impossible, or my wife would leave me. And I would probably tell her to go ahead and go because all I've got time to do is this dumb podcast. So
yeah. Yeah.
Speaking of which, where's Will Hicks? Come on, Will, put another episode out.
Where are you at?
With that being said, OCRM has since gone on to provide this content. They were building this world of content, and now they've put all of this content behind a subscription wall. $3.99 per month. $3 is not a lot of money. I mean, people go spend $10 on freaking coffee every morning. So in the grand scheme of things, it's nothing. But something about, hey, pay for this. We were providing it for free.
But now we want you to pay for it.
It gives a funny feeling. Like the same way that even Conquer the Gauntlet, a company I trust, says, hey, you used to be able to run multiple laps for free, but now you got to pay for it. It still feels a little funny. I trust them, and that's why I give them the benefit of the doubt and say it's a business move, but it still feels funny.
That's completely understandable, because you never know what business motivations are behind any kind of decision like that, other than they just need to make money.
Maybe the fee is to help them continue to grow and make this big network that they want to make. And maybe they need that revenue to make that happen.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but it's almost like paying for early access. Like, it's not fully developed yet. And I think that's where it feels odd.
Had it been better developed and had there been some, I guess, quality to the content being offered behind the subscription wall?
Some of the content is cool. Like, Benny does a great job, and he's in front of a green screen, and it looks good. That's cool. But then they'll be at the races, and they'll be right by a speaker that's playing loud music next to them.
Right.
And so it's, I mean, everybody. Shoot, Matt B. Davis is terrible with his quality, but we're sitting here nitpicking over them. So that's not the. I don't know. That's not the thing I really want to point out about it. I think I'll leave that point there just to say that there's something about it that feels odd. That's all I'll say to finish that thought out. But the whole reason this came up is because this is where it gets funny, to be honest. Daniel, if you're still with us, this is the good stuff. Daniel posted in the World's Toughest Mudder community to advertise, basically, saying, hey, we're obstacle course racing media. We've got all this content. Come check us out. Whatever. Typical what you're going to hear from somebody that's starting up a new thing.
Yeah.
But he did it in the world's toughest mudder community. And I guess nobody had warned him that the WTM community doesn't necessarily have some of the nicest people in it. Like, not that these people
They're
aren't
pretty
okay.
hardcore. No, they're just really hardcore and very passionate about their group.
Yeah, they're very straightforward, and some of those people are not gonna give you niceties whenever they don't see it. Some of those people, probably Keith Allen being the main one, because he's the one who probably had the most to say back to Daniel, will be right down crappy to people that he does like, and give them crap about stuff too. So I guess it was kind of to be expected, and that's what I'm saying is like, I wonder if Daniel realized who he was presenting this to, because the response he got back was
Probably not.
the post. Well, the post that he said was, "We're the first obstacle course racing media network," and everybody took that statement and said, "How dare you say you're the first? What about all these other ones? Like, there's so many other ones that came before you.
Yeah.
What is wrong with you even putting that word in your mouth?" And from there, of course, Daniel tried to defend himself. I'm saying we're this, not what you think I said. And then Laura Mesner got on there and said some, basically backed him up. And
Yeah.
it was a pretty long, fairly heated post on Facebook. And shortly thereafter, it got taken down. So as I was reading this stuff, I was like, man, just eating it up. It's like, it was just comical all around. But the funniest part was, it was maybe 5 minutes after Laura posted, and the thing that was like, she basically reiterated everything Daniel said, backed him up, like had all these statements and facts, and it was like, oh, come on, Laura, that's not necessary. You're talking to Keith Allen. He's not like he knows what you're saying. He's not a stupid person. He gets the original statement. He's just being himself and giving you crap. So just
throwing gas on the fire.
Just don't even try anymore, because it's not like if anything, he's probably trolling you just because he's in his chair laughing somewhere. But so 5 minutes after that, I went to go. I actually was trying. I was in the process of leaving a comment to Laura to say, "Stop. He knows what you're saying. He's just being a troll." And as I went to go hit send, it said that the comment had gotten deleted and the whole post was gone. So I take it, shortly, like halfway through all these posts, you didn't see anything from Daniel anymore. So I'm sure at some point he was like, oh, God, I made a mistake, and he took it down.
Got the hint.
So yeah, that's what came from that, and it was comical, and it just seemed to fit, and that's why I wanted to point out the rest of my thoughts on OCRM at the moment. It kind of just fit with the way things have been going so far, I guess. It's so funny because I know this episode's going long, but the obstacle racing community is so well known for being so welcoming, but then you've got stuff like this happen, and you've got the bickering between Spartan people and Tough Mudder people, and I guess that in some parts of life, you get enough people together, and it's never going to be...
Yeah, there's that side to every group. It's not going to be all sunshine and rainbows all the time whenever you get big groups of people together. So, I mean, there's going to be some of that in every group. So
that's that. So if you listened, I hope you enjoyed my ranting and story there.
Rant over.
The rant is over. That's all I got. I just poured my heart out there.
Just left it all out there. You feel better now?
I left it all out on the course. Did my wheels come off?
You feel better now?
As much as I've heard elites that I look up to say terms like that, they always bug me. I'm not one for cliches. I can't like how many people that are I'm gonna go rant some more. How many people are in the Spartan announcement booth on live streams how many times, I would love to count up how many times they've said the wheels came off or they left it all out there on the course.
That could be a new Spartan drinking game.
Yeah, probably a good, over the course of all the live streams they've done, probably a good 30, 40 times, if not more.
Yeah, at least.
All right, so I've ranted, so feel free to, if you got some criticism for us, rant back. I'll be happy to hear it.
Careful what you wish for.
That's okay. I don't mind.
It's all right.
We haven't gotten any hate mail like Mike and Caitlin, so maybe it's time for some.
Is that why you're trying to poke the bear? Is that
Just
what
trying
you're
to go after those ratings.
That's what you're really trying to do, right?
It's not about how if people like you or not. It's about the clicks. It's about the clicks and the downloads. How we ever gonna get to 100,000 downloads like Obstacle Dominator?
There you go.
If we don't talk trash about people, right?
Gotta step up our trash talk game.
Oh, how long has this been?
Like
an hour 48. Come on. All right, so obviously the episode will be shorter than that because of cut time, but
yeah.
This might be the longest one yet, possibly.
Yep.
Okay, well, that's it then. You got anything else?
Right. Nope.
All right.
You sure you don't have anything left in the tank?
Nothing left in the tank.
I had to throw one more in there.
I appreciate that. That was good. So, those of you that are still listening, keep your training up. We're almost there, almost to the end of the season. Got, 2-3 weeks before the Dallas Ultra Beast, and 2 more weeks after that for World's Toughest Motor. So 1 month to go for World's Toughest.
We're almost there.
Almost there. All right, so keep that training, get that training in, follow, listen, and talk, send us some trash talk, hate mail, and leave it all out there on the course.
Don't let the wheels fall off. Declan, you want to say hello?
No.
Bye.